Hello and welcome. So today we're going to be doing a Guess the Elo 2. We're basically going to be going through some viewers' games that have been previously submitted and seeing how strong you guys are at chess, and basically sort of analysing the games, and then at the end of each game guessing how strong that person is, i.e. guessing their Elo. So the first game that we're going through, our viewer played with whites. So yeah, let's see how they did. And we'll be guessing their Elo. So we've got d4, d5, c4, and f5. Instead, basically, like, yeah, you can take, but I don't know. It's not actually a great move necessarily. I don't know. f5, you're supposed to take, push, and then sort of clear the way for the bishop here. If you're playing as white anyway. But instead we've got knight c3 instead of recapturing the pawn, because if you recapture the pawn, if black took, then or attacking the queen, and the queen's going to have to move back either to d8 or somewhere else where it could get attacked again, basically. But it's already 2200. No one under 2200 will be playing d4. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they're actually a grandmaster. How crazy would that be? Okay, so here we've got e6, nice, and then e3. I guess just trying to reinforce the structure on d4, but again, there's a lot of pawn movements in the beginning here. You ideally want to be trying to develop your pieces as quick as possible in order to actually castle and get into the middle game in a better position. Again, putting the bishop here on e2 even from f1, you're protecting this pawn here in case it is captured. You can recapture, aiming at that pawn, which is currently defended there, but if the bishop, fianchettos, then it will not be safe. Next we've got bishop e7, sort of preparing them to castle this way, and once the knight jumps over here, takes, one of these pawns can recapture, and this knight will basically have to jump out of the way to here, for example. Otherwise, again, there's a threat on the knight and it could be taken. So we've got castles, takes. Just going onto this pawn here, but it can't be taken because it's protected by this bishop. So like the analysis is suggesting, further putting pressure onto that pawn by putting this bishop here on d3 and sort of putting more pressure on it in order to be able to take it and win material, even if it's just one pawn. Coming in with the knight, blocking that, but then coming over this way instead, so then they don't get that exchange and further attack on the other knight. Offering a trade of knights here. Yeah, but then at this point, white is just trying to kick this knight out of sort of in the white's interior and everything, in the white's sort of base, and kicking it out. It's likely going to be a trade. Yep, knight takes c3, pawn takes c3, instead of queen takes c3, because at some point, if this rook moves, then you've got an attack here, and yeah. So, further attacks onto the knight here on e5. Now, at this point, the bishop's attacking and the knight's also attacking with only one defense of the pawn, so it's vulnerable. White actually retreats the knight here instead of further solidifying its position by protecting it again with more pawns. And also, say hook, then takes, and there's a threat here or something on this bishop as well. However, like analysis was suggesting, be better to take f takes e5 instead, because yeah, the pressure is being put on this bishop as well, but now you also have more things eyeing this pawn over here. So we've got knight f6, just pushing a pawn, attacking the rook. Rook steps up the way, takes, recaptures, So there's a pin here, but it's not really gonna do much because it's protected by this pawn, also by the queen. And it's quite easy to also just further protect it with the bishop, especially because that's going to be protected by the rook. Queen just steps out of the way. I don't know why it did that move. Because that bishop being there isn't that bad. You know, you're preventing the queen escaping this way. Say you had the other bishop here or something. Also preventing the here. But there we go. Bishop c1 takes. This bishop is under attack. Jumping the knight out of the way. And then it's a revealed sort of protection onto the bishop as well. And obviously you can't take either because then the rook would fall. The bishop takes the knight. Pawn recaptures. Again, rook captures, attacking the queen just over here. Queen steps out of the way. Again, if you go there, there'll be a check. Sort of have to decide where you're going to go. Moving on, sort of further putting pressure onto this bishop over here. Attacking the rook, trying to kick it out of the way. Whoa. Okay. Guys, we've got a brilliant... We've got a brilliant coming. Hello. F3, either more than 1800 or less than 1000. Plus 2000 wouldn't. So we've got blunder here. Because takes. If you recapture, then mate. So how did this go? So you got a brilliant. They did do that. There we go. There we go. So it ended like that. Ended with the back rank mate. Yeah, now we know how why the game was submitted. It wasn't looking too great, but then that sacrifice was pretty good. Pretty good spot. So, okay. So, I would say that Elo is probably like... The actual Elo is probably like... This is quite difficult to judge. I'd probably say it's around 1200, maybe 1300. Yeah. You guys want to submit a game? 1200, I just joined. I don't think 1200 is a bad guess, you know. 1500, 1368. Okay, with 1400, even though F3. Okay, should we check the game review? What the game review says. Okay. So, game review says 1650. I think that's a bit high. I think that's a bit high for this game. 1650, just because of how the opening went and everything. And they didn't get in a great position, but then I guess also falling for the queen sack here. Like falling for that, I guess, would have sort of brought that accuracy and presumed Elo down. Yeah, game review is generous, like 100%. So we'll check their actual Elo. Okay, so their actual Elo is 1374. So 1200, 1300 was a pretty good guess. 1368, 1400, pretty good guesses. Pretty good guesses, chat. Good job. Yeah, we're gonna go to our next game, which is this one. And our viewer played this game with black. So we've got e4, knight c6, knight f3, d6. Nice. Putting some pressure on here to the knight. Gonna try and force him to double their pawns. Knight f6. We're trying to attack this pawn. But then d3 push just to protect it. Kicking the bishop out. Again, further kicking the bishop out. Okay, so we're fianchettoing our bishop on e7. Bishop g5, trying to attack the knight. Not too, We've got a double fianchetto. Nice. Okay, for a second, it makes it look as though that's free. But obviously, got the queen protecting and also the knight protecting. Trying to further attack the bishop. No exchange of pawns, so everything's still on the board at this point. Taking back with the pawn, trying to put more pressure onto this pawn through the queen, through the knight, even though it's only defended by that knight. It can sort of swing around here, the rook, and protect, like I just said. Just attacking this over here, trying to get some material. Rook protects. Pushing forward pawn. Trying to sort of put more pressure onto this knight here. Forcing an exchange. Okay, so then white takes the knight on c4 and black recaptures with the knight on a5. Takes again, and then sort of black positions themselves in order to gain more material by taking, and then obviously if white takes back, then black has gained material. But white moves out of the way with tempo, trying to gain here. That's quite a nice move. If takes. What is it if takes? Okay, bishop takes c3, and then yeah, mate. What do we think that elo is? Black's elo. What do we think black's elo is? 1450, 1200, 950. I mean, the thing is as well, we've got to sort of take into account how well the opponent's performance was as well, because obviously it's going to be similar matchmaking levels. So falling for that weight, mate. White is under 1300. Yeah, white didn't spot the battery. 1000. Yeah, I think it is. It's not like a super high rated game. So I'll show you. We'll go on to game review. So obviously this is only going to be showing the estimated elo. I have to show all of it because. Okay, whoa. Okay, this is very generous. 1250 for whites and 1850 for black. I think that's very generous for black. I think it's quite generous for white as well. Black did play well, yes, but I think 1850 is a bit of a high elo to sort of give to someone for this game. Like, interesting. Okay, so let me get up our final guesses on black's elo. Somewhere between 1000 and 1200. I think that's a good guess. I tend to agree with you. Maybe, yeah. You still think 1450? That's fair. Because of white's play is like affecting my decision with this quite a bit. I think it's going to be in the like 1000 range for black. 950, 1100. Okay, we'll have a little look. Okay, so black is rated 1130 and white is rated 1058. So pretty good guesses. We're getting good at this. We're getting good. So this next game as well was submitted by a viewer, obviously, and they were playing with black. So again, we're looking from black's perspective to follow through the game. 1e4 and then 1e5. So we're okay anyway. Knight f3. Knight f6. Not knight f. Yeah, knight f3. Honestly, I'm all over the place. So we got a. I can never pronounce this opening. It's like the Future Piano 4 Knights variation. So quite an interesting opening, and everyone's playing all right. And everyone's playing alright. Okay. I was going to say everyone's playing alright up to now. One of the ways you can do this is by taking the knight, but then there's going to be pressure on here. This is obviously what black's plan was, but this pawn here on e5 is undefended, and then where is your knight going to go? So it's not great. It's not looking great so far. What happened though? Bishop e3. So instead of taking the pawn, they just developed a bishop. And black just pushed another pawn. And then you can still take this pawn. You can still just take this pawn. It's still a free pawn. But they don't take the pawn. They take the knight with the bishop. And then black recaptures with the pawn, putting more pressure onto this pawn over here. So you can't retake, because rook is protecting. So white just moves their pawn, not their pawn, white just moves their knight further back. And recaptures this pawn. You know you don't want to recapture that, because not great. Attacking the bishop. Bishop moves back in a safer place, but it's also still got scope. It's still got quite good scope and quite good vision. Black goes for a check, but is just blocked by a pawn, and castles. Both castle in the same direction. Just some moving around of pieces in order to prevent more pressure being put on a certain piece, or, you know, captures and trades. Okay, there's been a trade of bishop and knight. So, in theory, having two bishops, having the bishop pair and everything, is better than having two knights and everything. That's quite often what's, you know, commonly decided, but in this situation, the eval bar does not like black's position at all. So knight's just jumping around in order to try and attack this pawn over here, but they defend it with the bishop, which I don't really have many grievances with. This pawn's under attack, but I don't know. Setting up this mate if you're not careful, but white sees it, pushes the pawn further forward, and pushes their pawn to, not their pawn, pushes their bishop to c7. Offering a trade of rooks, they take. Offering another rook trade, you know, it's pretty equal now. Just further attacking this, it's gonna have to move out of the way. Yeah, it moves back onto c2. Okay, checks here. Moves backwards, nice. Comes back further, attacking the queen, also attacking the knight as a result, even though it's still protected by the knight. Just takes a pawn. Sort of setting up this mate over here. White comes back over here, trying to, you know, just check, and is forced over onto h7. Takes the bishop, but then takes with the pawn in order to, you know, prevent this mate from still happening here. Knight drops in, trying to attack this bishop and just pick it up for free. Black says no. Fun. And if takes, then the queen is going to take on g3 and pick up this knight over here. Didn't even go for the pawn take first. That's interesting. Check again. This is going to be a rush for a promotion. And yeah, mate. So that was an interesting game. It was very up and down. What was the... Let me check the time control for this game. I think this was just a 10-minute rapid game. Yeah, this was just a 10-minute rapid game. So white ended with 2 minutes and 41 seconds on the clock. And black ended with 6 minutes and 48 seconds on the clock. Just for context. That was a wild game, like 6:50, 7:50. That could have sacked the bishop earlier. I'd say 900. 750, my guess. 900. 1200. Okay. 900 at best. Whoa. Okay. So, game review thinks that black is 1900. Yeah, so game review thinks thinks white is 1650 and thinks black is 1900. That's game review for you guys. Welcome to the game of chess. Like, game review. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. So that's their game review suggested elo. And now, should we find out their actual elo? Game review is on crack. Okay. I don't know. I'd say like 1,000 or something for their actual one. But we'll see. We'll see, won't we, chat? So, chat. You know, we sort of all agreed around like 1,000. White's rating is 1569. Black's rating is 1614. You know, I get surprises every day. And this is one of them. Like, nice. Okay. There we go. Higher than I was expecting, but yikes, I don't get these opponents. Yeah, exactly. People play bad games sometimes. Like, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you just miss things or you misclick or something. Like, I don't know if somebody misclicked in this game. I wasn't actually there playing it and everything. But that's a pretty interesting game. This was a rapid game. Yeah, I checked before. This wasn't a bullet game or anything. This was a 10-minute rapid game. There was no increment, I don't think. It was just a rapid game. And I think this next one is a 10-minute rapid game as well. So that's quite interesting. Okay, so this game is going to be played by black as well for our viewer. And it's a 10-minute rapid game, as far as I can tell. So we've got e4, e5, just king's pawn, a3, a3. It's quite interesting. I wasn't expecting a3, but I was expecting maybe development of the knights, something. c5, bishop c4. Okay, developing pieces now, are we? Okay, further attacking that bishop. Defending the knight even with the bishop now. Knight comes in to try and, like, attack, but if retakes, then queen can capture or can take with the pawn, so it's not too much of a big deal. Yeah, white's gonna take with the pawn, and then black can basically jump out the way. Queen takes, offering a trade. It's not, yeah. Interesting. But instead we have this knight jumping out of the way onto f5 and castles from both players. Sort of hinting at the idea that in the future they're going to try and mate on g2 with the bishop and queen. Obviously there's some obstacles in the way at the moment, but takes. Offering a queen train accepted. Yeah, could have gone here and orked these two little rooks. Black misses that, tries to move the bishop out of the way to attack this pawn. White goes to defend that pawn with the rook and is attacked. And the bishop takes as a further attack onto the rook, so it's going to have to move out of the way. Just further attacking onto this pawn over here and trying to gain more material, basically. That's interesting. So the knight just jumping out of the way. Bishop comes in order to attack that knight, and then once that knight moves again, it's likely that, you know, the rook is going to take. Takes, bishop takes. I don't know why they did knight takes. Well, it attacks the rook, so I do get why knight takes. Another trade. So it's going to be a knight and pawn endgame with black up and extra pawn. Okay, and it ended in this position. Because if white takes that knight over here, white takes, then you can take the pawn. And none of these pawns are even remotely close to queening. Black is just going to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's going to queen. Or, you know, turn into a little rook or something. So, there we go. That's that game. Pretty crazy. Pretty interesting game. The a3, I didn't expect on move 2. But it happens sometimes. It happens. There wasn't anything too crazy in that game, to be fair. It was a solid-ish game, so I don't expect anything too crazy, too high or too low in the game review. But yeah, probably 1200. I might think a little bit higher, maybe like 1350 or something. I'm not 100% sure. Both brought king out, so over 1,000 at least, probably 1,200 or so. Yeah, exactly. Especially in endgames, obviously, it's really important to utilize your king. And I do like this last move Black did with like trading the knights and everything, and then the threat of takes and pushing and queening. I thought that's all right. That's pretty good. So yeah, game review. Show us what you think, game review. Let's see. Let's have a go. Okay. Not a bad game, yeah. The game review thinks that white is 1,500 and black is 1,700. I actually don't mind the idea that they're both 1,500 too bad. Like, I thought it was an okay game. Like, there wasn't massive blunders by anyone. There was a few mistakes, sure, but it wasn't anything like, shit, I've just hung my rook, that type of thing. So I think that's an okay estimation with 1,500. 1,700 might be a little bit high, but game review inflation always is a little bit high anyway, so I think it's not bad. Hey Zara, I sent you a message on Instagram for a podcast guest invitation focused on chess streamers. Thank you. I'll have a look at that later when I finish stream. Thanks for that. Yeah, and then... Okay, so what guesses are we going for their actual elo? What are we saying there? I think if there are no big blunders, game review just labels 1,500 at least. Well, yeah, I get that type of thing where it's like, oh my god, you didn't hang your queen in 3 moves? You must be a grandmaster. Like, come on, guys. But I think actual elo, I think I'm probably still gonna stick with my sort of 1,350 guess. I think that's an alright guess. And also takes into account the game review inflation. I'll bump my guess up to 1,300. Yeah, I think that's a good guess. So let me check now. Okay, 1397. Okay, very specific. So white, which is not our viewer, had an elo of 1363 and black had an elo of 1453. So our guesses weren't bad. We weren't far off, to be fair, and it was an alright game. Like, there was no massive blunders, there was no like brilliance or anything, but it was a solid game. It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, wow. Yeah. And again, like I said before, this was a rapid game, 10 minutes each. Black ended with 3 minutes and 17 seconds on the clock, up 4 points of material, and white ended with 6 minutes and 31 seconds on their clock. So in theory, white maybe should be spending more time on the sort of actual decision making and everything, because sometimes, especially when you go from playing blitz to playing rapid or something, you're just still in that blitz mode where you just want to blitz out all of your moves, and it doesn't really work that well. You just sort of end up plateauing and then making decisions too quickly without considering deeper calculation. But But yeah, I thought that was an okay game. That was alright. It could have been a lot worse. So that's nice to see. So we're going to go through this game. Our viewer played with whites. So we're reviewing it from the white side. So we've got e4. Nice. Everybody loves an e4 every now and then. c6, going for the Caro-Kann. It's quite interesting. Knight 3, d5, d3, d takes e4, d takes e4, queen d1 check. Oh my god. And then white has now lost their right to castle, which sucks, but happens sometimes. Protecting the bishop from just taking the knight before and having to force white to double their pawns, so they put the bishop there. Again, the suggestion of the knight onto d2 is okay as well, because it's still going to protect with that. But then if this hops out the way and then there's a pin or something, then might force some doubling of pawns. Anyway, knight jumps to d7. Knight jumps to back, offering a trade. And again, a trade is made, which doesn't really affect white too much because, you know, they've already lost their right to castling. Castle! Okay, black castles in this position. A little push of the f-pawn, just probably to reinforce that protection on this pawn over here. Jumping, attacking. And again, jumping over here in order to attack this pawn, but black's move forward and protects it. Preventing a trade there. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't take then. You know, they have to take with the pawn because they can't take with the king. The bishop's protecting that square, and then you're going to have to jump out of the way or something with your knight, but probably just trying to prevent the pawn from further progressing and becoming a pass pawn, which is fair enough. Nice! Knight takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, so now you've got an extra pawn. Checking. Again, pinning the bishop to the king, so they're going to have to try and move out of the way, but still protect it at the same time, like king e6. Further pushing this pawn in order to try and make it a pass pawn, and protecting it with the rook. Further pushing the pawn, ignoring this trade offer. Takes, rook takes. Whoa! Okay, so black just decided to ignore the threats that white's bringing, which is really interesting. Yeah. Over here. Like, not even that, even. Like, if you went there, it's just mate. Crazy! So it ended here. Yeah, it wasn't a bad game by white. The analysis on chess.com was addressing quite a few mistakes, but I don't think it was that bad. I think it's kind of a bit dramatic with that, but I think it's an alright game. I think it could be a pretty high-rated game as well, because, I don't know, I did like the knight takes and then bishop taking and then picking up the extra pawn. I think that was like really the crucial move that helped them actually win the game overall. Because then came these checks and the further pushing of the pawns and the trades and everything. So I'd probably say knight takes d6 is like the winner, the winning move basically. But 1600, yeah, now we have to get our guesses in. So 1600, I see that. I'm gonna go 1700, simply because of knight takes d6. I like that move. Yeah, I really like knight takes d6 quite a bit, so I'm gonna go 1700. Might be a bit high, might be a bit low. We'll find out. That's the joy of finding out how strong my viewers are. We can see how good you guys are at chess, and it's really entertaining as well. So 1550, 1500, 1643, rook b7 was nice. Yeah, there's a few nice moves in this game. Was rook b7, yeah, sort of cutting off the black king even from going onto this file. And then bringing the king around. See, I don't know why black just kind of ignored what white was doing at this point. But yeah, that was pretty good as well. So let's go into game review, guys. 900, yeah, definitely. So chess.com's game review thinks that white is 2300. And it thinks that black is 1900. It was a good game. 2300 though is like surprised me. I didn't expect 2300. 2300, damn. I'm like in shock right now. 2300, okay. And now we have to check out their actual elo. See what they are actually rated. This is basically just a test to see how good chess.com's game review accuracy is, like their elo guesser and everything. Okay, wow. Okay, so their actual elos is white is 2034 and black is 2024. Oh my god, that's the year we're in. No way. So high rated players, nice. Pretty entertaining game to be fair, but I do really like the knight takes d7, was it? Knight takes d6 even. I do like that move. Wow, yes. Jeez, that cool. Yeah, I think that's really cool. So we've got some 22,000 players. Pretty good games. Pretty good games if I do say so myself. Pretty impressive. So congratulations for being that high rated, but also for exhibiting cool moves like knight takes d6. I like that move a lot. If you were in, like, you know, the post-game interviews that they do at tournaments and everything, and they're like, what do you think was the key move in which helped you win? I would have said knight takes d6 if I was the one playing it, because that's a good move. Thank you guys for everyone who has came out today. I really appreciate it as well. And I will probably make this into a video as well.